Algebra 1 review. The word evaluate, remember this is a reading class, so the word evaluate we have to understand. And the word evaluate means use the information that they've given you. Use numbers. They usually give you numbers to evaluate. And what do we usually use? We use our calculator, or we use our brain, which would be nice too. So if it says evaluate, we use the information that they are going to give us. So in this problem right here, now this is not an equation, is it? There's no equal sign, there's no equation, therefore there's no solving, there is just evaluating. So let's see what information they gave us. They said A is equal to 2, B is equal to 3, and C is equal to 4. If they gave us this information and we are supposed to evaluate, then we are going to substitute in the values. So for A, what are we going to put? For B, what are we going to put? And for C, what are we going to put? All right, so we've built our expression and we are now evaluating. And of course I can put this in my calculator, but right now we're going to use our brain. So this is 2 plus 6 minus 4, and 2 plus 6 is 8, and 8 minus 4 is 4. So evaluate means use the information, evaluate the information they've given us, and simplify by substituting in the values. Now, let's change this a bit. And let's come up with one of our biggest problems that we have all year, because now let's discuss Algebra 2. What if the information they gave us was A equals -2, B equals -3, and C equals -4? Okay, negatives are a giant problem in Algebra 2, and I'm talking giant problem in Algebra 2. You need to be very careful with negatives. So what we're going to do to help ourselves is we're going to use parentheses to help ourselves with negatives. So now let's substitute in. So what is A? A is -2. What is B? B is -3, and what is C? -4. Now you're going to say, I don't want to write all those parentheses, but you're going to, because if you don't, this is where our difficulties lie in Algebra 2. All right, so a -2, there's no distribution, that's just a -2. 2 times -3, so now I have a -6. And a negative makes it a +4. And if we hadn't put our parentheses, we would not have noticed that. So now we are at -2, -6. And well, what is -2 plus -6? -8, and you can use your calculator if you need to. -8 plus 4, and I get a -4. Negatives are a giant problem in Algebra 2. So now you need to pause the video. Pause the video. And now you're going to do this practice problem. And as you start the video again, you should have gotten an answer of -30. Here's another practice problem. Pause the video. And you should have gotten an answer of 26. Now when I go back to look at your work in your notebook, there has to be steps. So if all you did is write down the problem and then you wrote the answer, it's going to be wrong, because without the steps, it's a wrong answer. So I have to see visible work on all of that. Now, let's go to, all of this was Algebra 1. Everything that we did so far was Algebra 1. Now let's enter Algebra 2. All right, evaluating Algebra 2 looks a little different, doesn't it? They're not going to say nice words like, please do this, or please do that, or say A equals 2, or B equals 5. They are going to give you function notation. And function notation is like a text message. Function notation is like a text message telling you information, and just like everybody's supposed to know TY means thank you, everybody's supposed to know that when it says f of x, and that's what that means, f of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 3, and they give you this line right here, what this just told you is x is 2. Now they're not going to write x as 2, you're just going to have to know that. Now let's think about it. What usually goes in these parentheses right here? We've seen it all through Algebra 1. What usually goes in there is x. So what it's telling us is evaluate the function using x as 2. So if we do that, what we now have 2 squared plus 2 times 2 plus 3, because everywhere there was an x, we put a 2. Everywhere there was an x, we put a 2. And now we just add up the pieces. So 2 squared is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4. All right, and if we add all those up, we get 11. Now you're going to have to be even more careful with negatives this time around. So for instance, if I say f of negative 3 is equal to x plus 5, that just said to me, evaluate the function using x equals negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and take that out and use is, because we need to get used to the fact that this is a reading class. So x is negative 3. So we're going to go back and we're going to say where, if it says x plus 5, what are we going to put where x is? Negative 3 plus 5, and f of negative 3, which is what we started with, is equal to negative 3 plus 5. And what is that equal to? So f of negative 3 is equal to 2. So let's try a couple of those. So pause your video. When you turn back on your video, one of the answers is 18 and the other is 0. And now you have to decide how well you did.